Mike Rinder worked in the Church of Scientology's executive ranks for 25 years, serving as its top spokesman. He joined the church's religious order, the Sea Org, when he was 18. Rinder and others say that by the mid-2000s, church leader David Miscavige became displeased with Scientology's top executives and had them confined in a building known as the Hole. Rinder said that after weeks and months of confinement, the managers began to engage in violence and abusive hazing. He spoke recently about his time in the Hole, including the effects it had on his psyche.
For a long time, I would literally wake up in the middle of the night in having nightmares about how I got back there somehow. Oh my God, I'm back.
Is this after you left the church?
Oh yeah, for years. Oh my God, it was like the worst thing. It would literally wake me up. My God, I'm back in the Hole. Why am I so stupid? Why did I come back? What possessed me to let myself be dragged back here? I'm insane. I can't take this. And I think that it takes a long period of being away from it before you really can come to grips with the sort of, you can walk away from the physical restraint. It's not so easy to walk away from the mental duress that happens and the fear of that is instilled in you of I'm crazy. Because that is ultimately what happens, is you start thinking you're crazy. You start believing that you're really a suppressive person. You start believing that you really do have all of these horrible intentions to destroy everything and destroy everybody, because it gets pounded in and pounded in and pounded in. And it takes a bit to break the grip of that sort of mental anguish that you go through.
Someone might hear you talk and say that this is some very akin to some hazing, what a fraternity or sorority might do. Relatively harmless. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, that's something that probably the church is going to end up saying when they ultimately have to confront responding about this. That this is just kind of, college hazing. But when the level and degree of hazing goes beyond what's socially acceptable, then it becomes a flap. And it's happened in a bunch of colleges. It's happened in the military academies, and when these things have come out about just how much or how abusive it was, and you get a horrible result. Florida A&M had one just recently. But the real truth is, you can justify it all you want. You can try and analogize it to make it seem like there is nothing really wrong. That's really for the people who hear about what actually happened to decide. It's the defense that it's not a big deal is, hear what really happened and ask yourself, is that really a good way of putting this? Is this really an acceptable thing to happen? Is it really just like college, when people are locked up in an environment where they can't escape, where they have guards, where they have bars on the doors, where the windows are shut, where they may be there for a year, where the air conditioning is turned off, where they're fed slop, where they sleep on the floor, where they have ants crawling all over them, where they're tortured? Is that really just like a college, fraternity stunt? I don't think so. Those college fraternity stunts last maybe an hour or two, or a day maybe, or a couple of days. This is months on end. When you're in the Sea Org, you've committed yourself and you've made a commitment beyond even a single lifetime to accomplishing the aims of Scientology. And a lot of people have made that commitment and feel that to walk away or to leave is to withdraw an allegiance that has been granted that one committed to never withdraw from. You also have the factor that it's a very well-known fact that if you leave, you are going to lose contact with your family and any friends who are Scientologists. You also believe when you are inside that environment that the only route to spiritual freedom is through the practices of the church, and that if you leave, you will be barred from participating in that, and that your eternal future will be put in jeopardy. You have sort of pounded into you for a long time that the only reason that someone leaves a group like that is because they are bad. You have done something to force that are overts, called overts and withholds, that force you to have to leave so that you don't continue to hurt that group of good people composed of goodwill any further. And that is a very strong factor, because you look at yourself and go, okay, I want to get out of here. Oh, I must have done something bad. And that, coupled with this concept that is a fundamental Scientology concept of the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics, is a very, very strong motivating factor. Like, you look and you go, well, yes, it's uncomfortable for me. This is not a good environment for me to be in, but in the overall scheme of things, is it better to be contributing? Is it worse? You know, there may be things wrong with the Church of Scientology, but, you know, overall, it's accomplishing far greater things. And, you know, this is the line that still gets used today and is a very, very important thing for Miscavige to keep pushing. And the only thing that he has these days to do is to announce these buildings that he keeps buying, the ideologues that theoretically prove this expansion, and we're going to clear the planet, and this is how we're clearing the planet. And really all it is spending money to buy buildings, and it's got nothing to do with, you know, spiritual salvation or really helping anybody. But this concept that this is the greatest good for the greatest number, and that the expansion of Scientology and the good things that are being done to help the planet are far more important than whatever may be happening to me, little old me. And that, you know, I've lived through many lifetimes, and there are a lot of experiences that I've had that are far worse than this. So, you know, I can put up with this and I can stand it. And, you know, all of those factors sort of combine into the idea that it's really a dumb thing to leave. No matter how bad it is, it's really dumb. It's really stupid. And that's the kind of, and you know, I guess there's one other factor. You've invested a lot of yourself into doing what you've done for however long. You know, in my case, it was 30 years. And if you walk away from it, you're kind of admitting that, I guess I was wrong. And, you know, that's not an easy thing to do. There is nothing in any Scientology doctrine that talks about these sort of group gang up confessions and beating people until or torturing people until they admit to something. That doesn't exist anywhere in Scientology doctrine. That doesn't mean that the church won't try and defend what they've done. This stuff has got nothing to do with religion. This stuff has nothing to do with anybody's normal concept of religion.